Okay, well, it is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are going to start our program, and we just want to welcome everyone. John, I see that John Lynn, our Director of Programming, is here. John, would you like to have some words this morning?
Well, thank you everyone for joining this great presentation today. And we're at the DC chapter. I'm driving, so I'm not sharing the video right now.
Be careful, John.
I know it's tough to zoom and drive, right? I'm doing my best, and so welcome everyone. And we're gonna have a really great discussion today, and I wish everyone can get something from today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. John does a wonderful job heading up our programs here in the DC Mid-Atlantic Council. So we are very glad to work with him. I'm Tara Houston, and I will be moderating our discussion today. I'm the secretary for the DC Mid-Atlantic Council. But before we go into our great discussion, because I know that's why everyone's here, they want to hear more and more about expanding our global businesses and monetizing our global contacts, which is definitely a great focus and emphasis in this world of real estate that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. But before we do that, I wanted to bring to center stage on Zoom, if she's available. It looks like she may be on another call real quick, but our awesome president of the DC Mid-Atlantic Council. As you all know, we had the awesome opportunity to reboot last year, and Erica was elected as our president, and she was a part of the reboot committee anyway, and was leading that charge anyway. So it was only befitting, and it made so much sense that she would get the nomination and win as president. So we're very glad to have her as our president. So I want to have Erica Solomon have some words today. Erica, you're muted, Erica. Look. Those are the most commonly spoke words.
You can't hear me? That was a lip reading. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for showing up for this awesome event. It's been a wonderful journey being a part of my journey to FIABCI, which a lot of people, several of you shared their journey with me when I was deciding whether or not to join FIABCI. Well, first of all, I had to learn about what FIABCI is and what it meant in relationship to global business, and then taking that journey to the next step to get involved at the DC Mid-Atlantic Council and to reboot it and get it up and running. And it's amazing that when I look at all the people who have signed in, I have a story for everyone. And it would take probably 2 hours to go through that whole storytelling process. But, you're here because you're unique. We are a unique group of people because we're realtors and because we embrace global real estate. We have a passion for travel. We have a passion for culture. We have a passion for food. We have a passion for a good time. And long flights. We do. That's weird. But, it's interesting because I look forward to traveling because I know I can turn my phone off. But once I get to my destination, I'm totally replugged and charged and trying to figure out, okay, so I can get 2 hours of sleep because I'm on 2 different time zones and no one will know that I'm not in the US. And I tell you, I have slept with people on this Zoom by way of sharing hotel rooms. So I've been a good roommate, and a lot of my good roommates are on here. So I thank you. And once you continue your journey, as you know, with FIABCI, and when everyone feels comfortable with traveling again, we'll get to roommate again.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to be here as president of the DC Mid-Atlantic Council and to put this awesome presentation. John Lynn does a great job. our entire board of directors really come together to make sure that we're bringing some relevant information and topics to our members, as well as fun networking events. So with that said, I am a Raven fan for Alicia Matheson. You just don't even know the backstory, but I tell you, this topic is so befitting to my personal journey in leadership, making my global connections. Slavisha, he's our dear friend from Belgrade, Serbia. He's a part of the journey as well. And welcome and enjoy the program.
Thank you so much, Erica. Let's give Erica a virtual hand clap. We so appreciate her leadership. She's definitely leading the charge and spoken of so highly. Everyone knows her all over the world, so it is an honor to serve under her. And I just have a special friend. He may not remember me, but I'm going to call him out. His name is Mr. Thompson out of California. I see you on. And I just have to say that I attended a FIABCI open house about 2 years ago now, right, Erica, in San Francisco, that the San Francisco Council was hosting, and I met Mr. Thompson, and it was one of my first experiences as a FIABCI member, and one that will definitely be one that I give credit to. For helping to boost my global real estate practice. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you, Mr. Thompson. Did you want to have some words?
You're very welcome. It's still early here in San Francisco, so hence why you have my my glamour shot up versus me live. But thank you for your kind words. And if anyone is ever out in San Francisco, and please be sure to look me up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone. I see so many esteemed guests. I can't call everyone. I just picked on him particularly because that was one of my first FIABCI experiences, and it was amazing. And so it's one that I raved about. I posted pictures on social media, and it was just such a well-done event. So it's one that I said, when we have events, I want to model it after that one. It was very, very nicely done. So I wanted to bring that up. So we're going to go ahead and just get started. Thank you all for joining us today. We have a great program for you. So this topic today is monetizing our global connections. I mean, it's how befitting is that? We're in this global space. We have people here from Serbia and all over really all over the world, all over the United States. So we definitely want to capitalize on that. So I'm going to moderate the discussion, but I'm telling you, I am not the one providing the information. We have a group of esteemed panelists. So I want to introduce them. I'm going to try to spotlight them now so that you can see them. 1 minute. And where is my friend Antonio? There's Antonio. And spotlight. Very good, very good. And they're going to introduce themselves. I'm not going to do that, but I'll tell you who they are. And you all just wave your hands when I read a little bit of your bios. Their bios, look, you all, their bios are so long. I can't even begin to read all of this. We'd be here all day. So I'm going to give them 2 minutes to introduce themselves, but I'll tell you who we have. We have from the DC Mid-Atlantic Council, Kejolo Kulabali, and he's from originally, hello, Kejolo. He's originally from the Ivory Coast. So in a few minutes, he's going to introduce himself and tell you all about his experiences. I know he's had experiences with the World Bank and just a number of great experiences. Next, we have a very well-known keynote speaker all over the United States and internationally. And most of you all know her. We have Miss Alicia Matheson out of Florida. She's a FIABCI member from Florida, and we certainly welcome her and just can't wait to hear all that she has to share. And then last but certainly not least, and it is in the afternoon, I believe they're in Portugal, right, Antonio? We have Antonio Barbosa coming to us from Portugal, right? But he is a member of FIABCI-USA. And so he's going to share all that he does as if we don't see him anyway. I mean, he's all over social media. I feel like I'm right there with him in Portugal with all that he shares all the time. So let's welcome our panelists, give them a virtual hand clap. And what I'm going to do now, I think I've probably said too much already, is have them introduce themselves. And when they introduce themselves, they're going to answer two key things. One is, how did they get their start in global real estate? And what in their background, specifically position them to be the global real estate experts and advisors that they are now? And then if they care to share their latest and greatest project that they've participated in or are currently participating in as it pertains to global real estate. So I'm just going to start with Alicia. Alicia, would you introduce yourself to the group for us?
Absolutely. I'm just trying to figure out, how do I squeeze all this into 2 minutes?
I know.
I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best. As Tyra mentioned, my name is Alicia Matheson. I'm very honored to be a public speaker and global investment real estate consultant. I'm honored that I have the pleasure of representing so many consultants around the world, but also being an investor as well, which changes everything, right? When you do it yourself, you know exactly what those demands are of your clients and investors. I'll be honest, I originally came from New York. I grew up with the Disney organization, but prior to working for Disney, I worked for the United Nations and was actually recruited from the UN to work for Walt Disney World. I was a public speaker representing the Disney organization around the world for over a decade, and also was an international consultant to the UN. So having worked in the international market, it really helped lay the foundation for what I do today. After working with Disney, and actually I'll even say while working for Disney, Disney is who got me into real estate. And everybody says, well, how is that possible? I was a public speaker representing the Disney organization for the National Association of Realtors Conference. And this was many years ago. They said, they came back and they said, hey, Disney, you guys got some of the highest ratings. We absolutely loved Alicia. We'd like to have her back. And so I told Disney, I said, if I'm going to go back and represent this many realtors, which at that conference, they had over 25,000 realtors that year. And I'm like, wow, if we're going to go back and work with this many realtors, we really need to customize the experience to the real estate industry. And so then I had the pleasure of getting my real estate license and starting to do it literally to make sure that I could be a better speaker for the National Association Real Estate. And I'll tell you, well over a decade later, I'm still a speaker for the National Association of Realtors. I have since left Disney and built a global business. And that global business combines my public speaking and global investment real estate. And how did I start in this incredible business is partnering with key people. One lady that worked in property management, her and I both were looking to grow in the global industry. And so what we did, to keep it under 2 minutes, was that we attended our very first global conference. And that was A Place in the Sun live in the UK, Birmingham. I'll tell you, that one experience, we had gotten over 200, I want to say I remember the number, 282 prospects during that conference. And over 20% of them had become actual buyers. And we already knew that if we just got 2, we would break even. And so we were blown away. And that literally just got us excited about going into the real estate market. Now I say that now in that we kind of fell back into it. With that, there were ups and downs, but we learned, and hopefully those are some of the stories that we look forward to sharing.
That is fantastic, Alicia. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know I've studied you and I followed you, but I didn't know all of that. So certainly you all, as you have questions for Alicia and the rest of our panelists about, even her experiences and how she was able to turn those introductions into clients. And please feel free to type those questions in the chat because we want to make sure that we address those questions today. But thank you so much, Alicia. We can't wait to hear more from you. Next, Antonio, tell us a little bit more about how you got into doing what you're doing. What are you doing? Big projects and so forth. I know you have a big listing that just hit the market last week. Share with us what you're doing.
Hi, everyone. It's Antonio Barbosa, and I'm out in Portugal. And what can I say about the global, how I got started? Probably because I was born in Africa. I was raised in the US, and now I live in Portugal. So maybe the global, the global just got inside me from a young, early age. And just from traveling when I was younger, coming to Portugal. But, you know, I grew up in the United States, so just mostly in operations and in recruitment for a lot of companies that are now on the NASDAQ. And I was a part of that growth. So, and then in the last, when I moved here for 20 years ago, just to be closer to my mom and dad, and getting to know Portugal, then that's where real estate just came in, because that wasn't my background other than investing in the US, and I still have property there. But real estate just kind of fell into my lap with a brand that was also growing here. And, you know, so they invited me, I was part of that project, and just took off from there. You know, and so a lot of when you say the global real estate and how it started, I don't know, it just started. It probably just from speaking English and speaking, dominating and looking at opportunities here at the time. There was nobody exploring that market with foreign buyers, and you know what facilitated was just speaking the language and several other languages. So everything just kind of fell into place, you know. And yeah, the listing last week, and it's probably it's closed already, pretty much. The lawyer's working on it. Yeah, it was a great property. So that's not my biggest project. Actually, is working on the trade mission here in Portugal. What we're trying to do. That's the biggest challenge now because of all the COVID and restrictions. So, and that's it. I mean, you know, pretty much. I mean, I'm not one. I let other people talk about me, not me. You know.
Well, we certainly look forward to hearing more, Antonio, and that's amazing that project is pretty much gone. You literally just launched it last week, so we definitely are looking to hear what you're doing to.
And it was a foreign buyer, and it's a foreign buyer, you know, from California.
Wow, that's amazing. And one thing that Antonio said, we're going to get to Kjolo next, but one thing Antonio said that I thought was powerful was he was able to utilize English, the language of English, to grow his business. So I'm interested in hearing more about that and the benefits of speaking multiple languages and how to capitalize that, because we have capitalized on that, because we have many people in our audience who speak multiple languages and may not have even thought as much about using that to be an ambassador for their business. So very, very good. Thank you. Nice to have you. Kjolo. Kjolo, this is my friend. We met in our CIPS class a couple years ago, and we just formed a great virtual friendship, really. We started following each other on Facebook, and we've just been friends ever since. So tell us, Kjolo, about your background. I know you're from the Ivory Coast, but how did you get to do all the things that you're doing? And tell us what you're doing.
First, thank you for inviting me, and good morning to everybody. I'm from Côte d'Ivoire originally, and I came to the state to go to college. And while in college, I was like, you know what? I just want to have international friends. Reason why? Because I had the vision of wanting to do an international business, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So therefore, it was important for me to kind of cultivate a network for long term. Went to college, did that. Then when I went to work in New York in a boutique investment firm, I was focusing more on international clients in Europe, in Asia, and also part of Africa as well. And that kind of got me excited. I was like, you know what? I really want to do this, to focus on international clientele. Left New York, came to DC, started doing real estate. And while doing real estate, I had the incline of wanting to focus on international clients, but I didn't know how. Started thinking, and I was like, you know what, you speak French. Why don't you focus on the Francophone community? And right there, I started activating my contacts. And I told myself, you know what, as you reach one checkpoint, you activate this contact to take it to the next level. So each point, I activate a certain contact. And to make it easy, I started activating contact in Côte d'Ivoire, in Sierra Leone, because I like Sierra Leone, in Guinea, and trying to activate some contact in Mali as well. And recently, I mean, of course, I have some stuff I'm working on in those things, but in Cote d'Ivoire, I had a client of mine who's looking to buy here. When I went there last December, January, she got me in touch with somebody, which I knew I wasn't going to do business with that person from a get-go, and I told her that. But to show her that I was more or less, I wanted to work with her, I took the time to meet her contact that I had no interest in, to tell her, you know what, if you tell me this, I'll listen to you. And after that, when I came back to the States, while she's looking to purchase a house here in the States, she got me in touch with somebody else with whom we are looking to build some houses, some beachfront properties in Cote d'Ivoire. So we got working on this project right now. So the international business came naturally because I've always liked international folks, love culture, love everything like that. And yeah, it just came naturally.
Well, very good. Thank you so much. And that, okay, Jolo, thank you for sharing and congratulations on all of your success. All of you panelists are just absolutely amazing and definitely great role models for those of us aspiring to really make it in this global real estate business world that we're in. And that leads, what Kajolo mentioned, leads to one of the first questions I wanted to ask. And those of you in the audience, please put your questions in the chat box, because there is going to be time for us to have your questions answered as well. But there's a saying, the revenue is in the relationship and the fortune is in the follow-up. And that's a saying, you know, that we were taught in our early days of real estate. And it sounds like each of you has really, you've mastered that, that revenue being in the relationship and the fortune being in the follow-up. And that's really how you're going to monetize those global connections. So with that being said, I think I'll ask Antonio this one. How do you establish and cultivate global relationships? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry.
No
Precisely by the referrals, contacting them constantly in their life. You know, since my first client until the soon to be one. I mean, it's just a matter of following up and being in their lives and getting referrals from them. That is my business. It's the referral business. If you talk about a global, it comes from there. You know, it just grows from 1 to 1 to 1. 1 is 11, 11 is 111.
Oh, wow.
And I do proud myself on more than 400 families of helping them getting assimilated, relocated here, and buying property here. So it's just numbers, and really, you know, but I think it's about the people business, right? Homes, it's not about selling homes, it's about building those relationships. It really is. And so I cultivate that. Sometimes it takes like 6 months to a year before any client would actually come and move here to Portugal. So there's a lot of follow-up calls even before they actually put their home on the market. Like, we're working with a few sellers, you know, in the US that are going to be buying here. And I mean, I can't tell you how many Zoom calls I've had since last year. And because they're going to be selling their home in May, you know, we're putting the house on the market in May. It is a hot market there. So it's also good to know what's going on in other parts of the world as well, because if you have the clients, the buyers coming from there, knowing what's going on there, and it's important. And it's about follow-up. Sometimes it takes months before they go. So you develop that relationship with them. You get to know their children. Then they come on the Zoom call with their children, you know, and then it's just so many things. You then, it's a process, you know, and you don't actually meet them till like 6 months or a year later after initial contact. And then after the sale is concluded, you know, I'm sort of like a crutch for the first 6 months or a year, because they don't know ins and outs of the country. The simplest of things for me are the biggest headaches for them. And just, you know, it's about solving that problem, whatever it is, just, you know, solve it and you know, quickly. And so then they're getting assimilated. And then, you know, when you do that, they're going to recommend somebody for sure, you know, and it's all about that. For me, it's all about just following up constantly. I mean, a few times a year.
I love that, Antonio, because what you're speaking to is we're not transactional. It's all about, we're a relationship-based business. And Alicia, I know that you've done that. Anything you want to add about establishing and cultivating, growing those relationships to where it's just beyond a transaction, where it's, you know, referrals and, you know, more networks that you're being introduced to and so forth?
Oh, I cannot agree with you more. And what Tony said, Antonio, forgive me. What
It's
Antonio
Tony's fine. Tony's fine.
we are literally in the people business, and it is all about the people. You know, one of the things that I literally just learned from growing up in the Disney organization is I'll never forget this license plate I seen. And on one of the, it's just a frequently returning guest, on their license plate, it said, been there, done that, going back. And isn't that what we want every single one of our clients to say about us, right? Oh my God, I worked with Alicia, I'm gonna work with her again. Antonio was amazing. You want them to rave about you, you want them to recommend us, and ultimately you want them to come back to us, right? And so how do you create those relationships? And for me, everyone I touch, I want to touch them for a lifetime, not once or twice. Honestly, if we only touch them once, we really have not done our job, right? We want to make sure that they are there, present. And how do we do that? And I know Antonio alluded to this, is that we follow up and we build that relationship. We call them when it's their birthday or the anniversary, or just to shoot the breeze and say, hey, you want to grab a coffee? Because I think that when we are centered in their mind, that's who they're going to remember. And even I know we have some of our global partners on here from Serbia, and that's a relationship. Erica and I had the pleasure of cultivating that relationship years ago, and I can promise you that today, you know, we stay front and center in their minds because they stay front and center in ours. We know we're going to get them involved and pull them in whatever, and they do the exact same thing for us. And so that's what we're talking about, is building those relationships that last a lifetime. Never touch somebody once. I remember working with a group in Brazil, and Brazil had this huge database of clients, and they weren't making any money. And this had to be one of the largest real estate organizations in Brazil. And I said, you know, what's the reason why you all aren't making money? And they said, in the past, they're used to getting so many new clients coming in, but for a couple of years, everything slowed down. I said, well, how did it slow down when you have this massive database of clients? And it was because no one was going back and following up with their existing clients. And so just something as little as critiquing that and following up changed their business and increase their revenue dramatically.
I love that, Alicia. The fortune is definitely in the follow-up, and you just gave a great example of how and why we need to follow up. And I love your statement. I'm taking a lot of notes, by the way, so forgive me if it seems like I'm off focus, but I'm taking notes because I'm going to use this. But you said never touch anybody more than anybody just once. So we have to keep going back and keep cultivating and keep spring. It's almost like watering seeds, you know, because we know that there's going to be a benefit later, and it's mutual. And I think what I heard from Antonio is it has to be pure, though. It has to come from the heart of, I really care about the relationship before the transaction. But with that, I don't know, Kijolo, maybe you can help me. How do we do that in this COVID environment we're in? You know, is travel necessary? Is it something you have to do to build that global business, to travel to countries? I know it's strongly recommended, but how do you do that in a COVID environment?
One thing I did last year a lot, I mean, first I was fortunate to be able to travel late last year to go abroad. But one thing I did last year a lot was making a lot of phone calls and sending a lot of postcard to clients, personalized postcard. So what I did is like, we have 4 seasons. So each season I send something to a client that personalized for that specific client, but also with a code that's related to this client as well. So knowing something about the family, so always being constant and present. Right before, when COVID started, I sent the care package to all of my clients. Gloves, hand sanitizer. I called them, say, hey, what do you need? Do you have that? No, I'm sending it to you directly. So that made it easier. So right there, they saw the care that I did care for them. I wasn't calling regarding a transaction, which I don't typically do. So, and after the year progress and COVID starts getting a bit more, I won't say stable, but the fright was diminishing. I started sending stuff out to my client. I send them gifts regularly, and when I go to Cote d'Ivoire and I come back, I get a bunch of gifts. My mother always says, you spend so much money on your client. I say, yes, because they allow me to have this lifestyle. So when I travel abroad, I buy gifts for them and I come to give it to them here. And for those I know back home in Cote d'Ivoire, when I leave the state to go to Cote d'Ivoire, I get them a gift from here to go to Cote d'Ivoire, any part of the world as well. So whenever I'm traveling, I'm always carrying gift. Yes, you can buy it yourself, but it's a gesture. And plus, it gives me an opportunity to see you because I see the person. COVID, it has to be Zoom. But it's more like a lot of, as I said earlier, Alicia and Antonio said earlier, it has to be authentic. You have to be following up. And but I also think that you have to have the love of people within you.
Love of people. Love it.
Yeah, money will always come. Like if you love people, money is gonna follow. Plus, if you love people genuinely, now you're developing. I mean, the word I like to use, longevity. You're here for even after your death. You want your kid to capitalize on what you've built as well. Otherwise, I feel like you more or less fail as a parent. So you want to be able to develop this relationship that does not last even your lifetime. So by doing those small gestures, not thinking about money, calling them. Now, if you can travel, it's fantastic.
Right.
Nothing better than that. And traveling doesn't mean that you must go to this country specifically. Like I go to Cote d'Ivoire, so I can just say, you know what, on my way to Cote d'Ivoire, I can just stop to see you in France for a day. We can chit chat. And folks in Senegal, in other part of Africa as well. You know, as I'm going to Cote d'Ivoire, I can make a detour, stop by. So in their mind, we're like, wow, this guy's taking time out of his trip to stop by to see me. So right there, it also cements my position in their brain when it comes to real estate as well.
Very good, Kajolo. Thank you so much. You said the love of people. I love that because we have to really love that. When we love what we do and we would do it for free, you know, we're really not working. It's not work.
Yeah.
We absolutely love that. So Antonio, you had your hand raised, your virtual hand. Was that on purpose?
Yes, it was because, and you're right, like Confucius says, but it could have been any one of us. But I think he was the one that's first said it, that if you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life, right? But it could have been any one of us, I'm sure. I think from what I heard, it was a Portuguese gentleman that whispered in his ear that. So I don't know if it's true or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Joking. And I think the other part of the relationships that I cultivate, and we were talking about the clients, right? But there's a very important relationship that I cultivate, and always it's another part, and that's with our colleagues.
Yeah.
You know, okay, like I mean, I know much. I don't know any probably of you guys personally, but I feel like I do. Because whether it's through the social medias, and you know, when you post what's going on in your daily life, and so do I, and you know, people interact with me and I interact with them, and you know, and that's creating a relationship. So you don't need to travel. You do it virtually. That's the way it is. We have no choice. And from experiences taught over the last year, it is possible to cultivate relationships. If people know, and it's about, you know, Alicia said it and Kajol also, that it's about authenticity. And if people know that, you build those relationships. And that's important because, again, referrals from the clients, referrals from the colleagues, right? And you want them to remember. Why send a referral to Antonio and not to Joaquin or Manuel? And you know, so that's also important. That's all I had to contribute.
Awesome, Antonio. And I want to come back to that because both you and Kajolo touched on something about networking with colleagues. So I want to come back to that, but our Madam President has her virtual hand raised. So I want to acknowledge her.
I just want to say what each of them have just spoken about is something that we hear often. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And you've given each your individual experiences and what you do to build that relationship so people will know, like, and trust and do repeat business with you. So thank you for sharing.
Very good. Thank you, Madam President. So regarding the networking, I wanted to talk specifically about that because I'm just going to go there. And I know Antonio said we don't have to really just talk about this, but I want to because it's still relatively new for the real estate community at large. Clubhouse. There's this new app for those of us who are iPhone. And some of you are like, no, that's been out for a year now. Okay, I'll admit, am I like the only one who just found out about it in January? Okay, but it's new. It's still newer. But there's so many things that you can do, and people are building relationships. I actually know of two billionaires who connected on Clubhouse. And now they've forged a great venture and they are doing some great things together. So I know that Kejolo, I've seen you on there, and Alicia, I'm not sure if I've seen you, but Antonio, Alicia, are you on Clubhouse?
Yes, and it's Antonio that pulled me in.
Oh, so let's talk about Clubhouse real quick, since it's new and it's a way for you to really speak more openly. Let's speak about that. Whoever wants to take a stab at it.
I won't lie to you guys, okay? Because Clubhouse before, when I joined it, it was very much exclusive. It was a very group of folks. And once it get open up and everybody started joining Clubhouse, I pulled back. I was like, no, it's losing its appeal now. It's no longer as exclusive. But yes, as you said earlier, I'm seeing a bunch of folks using it to forge connection. And that's what I was using it before, forging connection more on the investment side than real estate per se, more on stock and those kind of vehicle. And the past month and a half, after I decided to kind of snap out of my erroneous pulling back from Clubhouse. So I decided now to have a strategy to incorporate the Clubhouse into my real estate strategy, but more geared toward Francophone folks.
So you are using it for your
yeah,
friends. Okay.
I'm using, but now I'll be using it more for work now for the Francophone real estate aspect, yeah.
Okay, Antonio, how are you using it?
It's for networking. You know, I'm sure we all know about this, and what we used to do when we first got started in the business, or at least I did, and I think anybody junior agent that starts, they have a farming area, right? And what do? You're knocking on doors, getting to know people, right? Well, if I could say in the last 20 years, any tool that you're able to do that on a scale that it's unheard of for me, I mean, it's unbelievable. You're knocking on doors, you're meeting people, you're networking, and you have it. It's free. You don't have to travel. You're there. You're being a part of it. I mean, so I'm very much involved. I dedicate a few hours a week with it because it's part of the networking, right? I mean, it's knocking on doors. It's your farming area, and so I get involved in more of the international estate rooms, right? International real estate rooms, global real estate, where I am moderator in a few of those groups. Also here in Portugal, we have our own. It's on Wednesdays when we talk about just with our local. It's in Portuguese, but for the most part in the U.S. And when I try to get involved, it's mostly international. And then I get in other rooms, meeting, listening to, a certain tips that somebody's doing great. So there's a lot of information that people are sharing, and I think that's it's real and it works, right. And you actually. And you put it in action, the simplest of things that you hear. Oh, you know what? I'm going to try that. Or I'm taking notes sometimes, like when somebody's talking, and you're, hey, let me write that down. Let me apply that. Let me see if it really works. And it does. And it does. I mean, that things that you just learn from other colleagues. We can't pretend to know everything. So we're always about learning and growing.
Right.
And for me, it's about, as much as I may know about something, there's always something to learn. And, when you're a part of it, and networking, it is the easiest way to do it. And the global connections I've made, and business connections, and, transactions, that are working already, so it's, I what more can I say about it? I think everyone should be on it because it's the way to connect with the world. And if you go into like the UK, the United Kingdom rooms, or you go into the French rooms, or you go to the Australian rooms, or you go into the Asian rooms, I'm mostly in the real estate rooms. I mean, every once in a while. The other day I went into the food and beverage magazine, and the publisher is there with a few other people. And so I had no idea it was about the magazine. We're talking about food, but we're talking to the editors, and, and so, I sent them automatically about an article, a post that I did about food. Hey, maybe you'd like to read it. Maybe, what, he may just, learn something about Portugal cuisine and stuff. So it's, but most of the rooms I'm in are in the real estate rooms, and, not to waste time. I think you have to choose, you have to be very careful where you go, so you don't waste time. So if you dedicate a few hours a week, maybe an hour a day or 2 hours a day, it's like networking. If you, instead of going to conventions, you're not going anywhere, right? So Instead of spending late night watching TVs, you're listening and you're there, you're networking, and and people, you're connecting, and it's great. I think that's the greatest tool that's probably invented in the last 20 years for me, and able to do that.
That's a really good way to network, in this COVID environment. Alicia, are you, and Ted posted, and that is correct. I meant to bring that out. Thank you, Ted, for posting that Clubhouse is only for iPhones, or you can also use it on the iPad, but it's the Apple products that you can use Clubhouse on.
It's on Android now, as
oh,
of
it
last
is?
weekend.
As of last weekend. Okay. See, if we didn't learn anything else from this Zoom today,
but it's still by invite. It's still by invite.
Okay. Alicia, do you use Clubhouse? And if you don't use Clubhouse, what social media or other types of virtual networking apps and programs do you use?
I will say I do use Clubhouse thanks to that gentleman right there, Mr. Antonio. And you know what? Why I love this guy is because he invited me like more than once, because I wasn't necessarily convinced I needed this platform. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. And he's like, Alicia, I need to sign up. Alicia, I need to go. So he was very adamant about getting me on. And when I did, I was like, wow, why didn't I do this a long time ago? So sometimes you should just listen to your friends, right? Because he knows that we were just on a global meeting, and him and I are already working on some global conferences, but then we got to hear about the global conferences that others are working on and how we can merge those and help each other out. One of the conferences that he knows that he's working on a trade mission that I'm helping him with for Portugal. And I'm working on a global trade mission for Belgrade, Serbia, the second week in October. And so we're actually planning our dates around each other so that we can complement, and these global conferences don't overlap. And so when we're presenting that out to people, people can say, oh, I want to go to this one. I'm going to do Mexico and China and Belgrade and Portugal and Spain. But you can pick and choose which ones are going to be most advantageous. And that platform on Clubhouse, I was so excited because it literally just opened up more doors as we expand into the global market.
That is fantastic.
You mentioned what other platforms do we use?
Yes, please.
Because I work with the majority, I'd say over 80% of my clients are international. And so I am on WhatsApp, the majority, like majority of all my apps. WhatsApp is number one, right? We do a lot of live video on there, a lot of group and team interaction, but it's just the easiest way to connect. And then WeChat as well for all of my Asian clients. So WhatsApp and WeChat are two big networks that I use all the time. And then of course, I'm sure what I think some of my friends like Miss Erica Solomon's great at is using Facebook Live. I think that now when you can incorporate video in what you do, you really start to capture audiences. I think most people are realizing that video is the way to go because we don't have that face-to-face interaction. So if we can get it virtual, it's definitely the way to go. And I got to give kudos up to Erica because she even got me into that. She does phenomenal.
Awesome. Antonio, you had something to follow up on, but before we do, I'd like to summarize. WhatsApp, WeChat were two that Alicia mentioned that we hadn't mentioned previously. Yes, Antonio, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I saw a comment there that somebody would like to join. And I do have invites, and I'm sure if anybody wants one, just connect with me with your phone number and let me know what it is, your mobile number, because you do need it. And then I can send you an invite if you don't have one, because it's, you can register, but there's a list that you'll never probably get on in the next 6 months. So if anybody wants an invite, I do have a few. I always keep extras for friends and the colleagues, especially, and clients. So I do have a few. So for anybody that wants to connect, okay?
Thank you. And I know that was Della who said that she has some. So feel free, definitely you all, this is networking in and of itself. So I would go down the list, and I already got a couple friend requests from you all on here. Thank you very much. I will be accepting. So go down the list and let's friend each other. Let's connect. And definitely with the Clubhouse, you do need the invite to get in. We are running, time is moving so quickly. I'm enjoying this great conversation, but I had a couple of other questions because you are very fortunate. I know Kajolo, you speak a couple languages, and I know Antonio. Alicia, do you speak other languages?
I do. I speak Spanish, and I grew up with Italian, even though I don't use Italian as much as I'd like to. But my dad is from Africa, and my mom's from Italy, so I did grow up with other languages, thankfully.
Oh, that's now. What about though those of us who, may be limited in that? Like maybe English is really the only dominant language. Like me, I was a French minor, so I have that's how Kajello and I communicate sometimes because he ensures that I'm gonna keep speaking French. So I know a little bit, but just a little bit to be dangerous, so to speak. I don't really know it. So for those of us, can we still have a thriving global real estate practice, and we really only know one language?
Most
Is it
definitely.
possible?
I would say English is the global language, thankfully. So we're very fortunate in that aspect that English is that world language. I would still highly encourage you to learn another language. And then, what I really love is CIPS, which I know probably most of you already know this, the Certified International Property Specialist certification. And the reason why is because even though understanding the language is important, understanding the culture is even more important. And when you take that CIPS certification, you start getting a global understanding of each individual culture, the laws, and everything that's going on in North America, South America, Asia, Middle East, Europe. And you kind of want that background knowledge because like I have done, and I said I kind of fell into global real estate, but the reality is when I say I fall, that means I had to pick myself back up sometimes because I didn't do a lot of things right, and you had to learn that. And so it is a constant learning process, but that CIPS is just one way that really helps set you up for success.
Wonderful. Awesome. I know all the panelists have their CIPS and I have mine. I know Erica. So I definitely agree and ditto what Alicia said. The CIPS is the best. The best. Now, real quick before we open the floor, because I had at least 5 more questions, you all, but I know you all have your own questions. So I want to get to the audience. But real quick, you have to tell me, how has FIABCI, because we're all about FIABCI. We're FIABCI, right? And this is such a great organization, such a great network. And that is why we made this event a member exclusive event, because we said our members deserve to hear this information firsthand. But you have to tell me, how has FIABCI helped position you in your business? How has it helped establish you? Anyone can answer.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
I'm trying to give you guys the opportunity.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Go ahead, Alicia.
I know I'm like, but you know what? What was unique is I was attending global conferences, and a matter of fact, I want to say, and I almost feel bad that I bring up Belgrade, Serbia, a lot, only because I'm in Serbia normally at least once a year, and I think that's probably the first time I had the pleasure of hearing about FIABCI was at the global conference in Serbia, and then I think we met. Who was it? Was he the president? I think of Saudi Arabia or Dubai?
Wow.
Is it Erica?
Erica, unmute Erica.
It was Wali Musa. He's the world president.
Thank you. We had met him, and then I went on to a global conference in Russia, and I met the president of FIABCI France and FIABCI Spain. And when you're starting to meet all of these people, and they're telling you the benefits, and you start realizing, maybe I need to get involved and see what's going on with this organization. And what I've learned is, now I think of National Association of Realtors conference, you think of very nationally. And then when you think of FIABCI, you think of that international arm of real estate, right? And so I have always focused a lot of new construction, real estate, and residential. And FIABCI gave me that even global outlook of even considering commercial. And so it literally took what I knew and expanded upon it. And I think that's why I attribute FIABCI to.
Love it. Absolutely love it. If Antonio or Kajello has anything different to add, you feel free to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to just allow those in the audience to ask questions. So I'm going to put all of us on the screen so that we can see each other again. But feel free if you want to unmute and ask your question. I didn't see any questions in the chat per se.
I just wanted to say thank you to all of our panelists today because the information was totally on point. I have been a FIABCI member for 4 years, and together we're all stronger. And our networking creates just one big family event. And like Alicia said, the travel is amazing. And if you get a chance, they're going to do MIPIM in November. I'm not going, but if you get to do MIPIM next in 2022, you should definitely go with FIABCI, because the side events and the people that you will meet from all over the world that will be there is amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Della. And Della has such a wealth of knowledge. I was on a panel. I wasn't on the panel. She was on the panel, but I was on the Zoom where I heard from her last year, and I started following her, and she's just an amazing person. So thank you for joining us today, Della. If anyone else have a question, because I have a fine. Yes, go ahead, Stephen. I see your hand.
And thank you for this event, for the panelists. That was very helpful to me. I heard what Alicia say about WeChat, and I've been trying for the better part of 6 months to figure out how to get on there and ask other people to help me. I have a Chinese client who wants to put some property in the market, and they left this country and went there, and I can't communicate. So I could use some help with that.
Definitely. Well, please feel free to take my information, and
Okay.
I'll be more than happy to talk to you and let you know. Matter of fact, I'm going to put my number in the chat. Okay.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm good. See, that made it worthwhile, this event worthwhile for you. And I'm so glad. That's what I wanted. If everyone could just get one new thing out of today, then we have accomplished our mission today as a council. So thank you. Anyone else have a question or comment for the panelists?
I'd like to make a comment. Alicia talked about video and how important video is now prevalent because we're in a non-in-person environment, and that's one way to connect. But before COVID, Alicia, actually, we were in Serbia together, and from Serbia we went to Athens, Greece, and we were at the ancient ruins, and and we did these videos. And I tell you, if you've ever done a video, it's not easy. The final product may look like very polished and professional. It's like, oh, she's a pro at it. But let me tell you, it's so much fun in filming a video. Alicia and I probably had 200 takes before we got to something that we can both agree on. But sometimes I was like, if we sat down and looked at our bloopers, that would probably be more interesting than the actual final product. But when we're in this global environment, she's absolutely correct. You have to be able to sit down and connect with someone, even if it's in your kitchen, because you're making it more personal. And that's something that it will carry you forever, and people will sit and watch. If you have any type of platform that shows you the analytics behind your videos and who's opening and watching and clicking and rewatching and rewatching, so you'll know who's engaged and what they like to see. But she's spot on. You have to be in front of people with your video and film. Even if you make a few bloopers, don't go for perfection. Just let your authentic self come through.
Very good. And you know what, Erica, I have to echo that, because I talked about the great open house out in San Francisco. My husband and I did some videos, and the next week I had a call from someone who offered me the opportunity of a lifetime from a global perspective, a global transaction. And it came from not being perfect in front of the camera, but just saying, hey, I'm at this great FIABCI international real estate event and this, and they said, you do international real estate? And I'm like, I was like, yeah, I do. And the next thing you know, I had this wonderful transaction, and that led to something else, which led to something else. So you definitely have to give it a try. I definitely agree with that. And really all the tips and tools that we've shared today and that our panelists have shared, Clubhouse, going in there and, networking. I know Trisha posted a group that I am familiar with. It's in the chat, Real Estate Without Borders, I think is what it's called, right, Trisha? That's a great group, but definitely.
I'm sorry, it's called Real Estate Pros Without Borders. That might have been a typo. And a lot of you are on, but we bring forward some really great topics, and we've been doing it for over a year. So please join us. Thank you for the opportunity.
They are great topics, and most are FIABCI members, obviously, but it's a great way to network and connect. All right. I believe in honoring your time. There certainly are a host of other questions we could ask, but in the interest of your time, I'm going to prepare to close out. I do see a couple hands raised, so I'm going to recognize. I saw Antonio's first, then Alicia, and then after that, Erica, it's back in your hands because I want you to have the closing announcements and share what else we have going on. I do want to say this, please, Alicia, Kejolo, and Antonio, please stay on because I think we're going to take this to Clubhouse. Hint, hint. I think we're going to do something like this in Clubhouse. So stay, and Erica, of course, please stay on once everyone else leaves. I'll only take 5 minutes, but Antonio has something, then Alicia, and then Erica, unless Kejolo has something to.
No, I'm fine. Yeah.
Yes, Antonio. You're muted, Antonio. There you go.
Oh, okay. Hi. I would just say that, probably before talking about my experience with FIABCI and being a part of, because I'm fairly new, but I think it's being part of, I've always liked to be part of the cool club or part of a club, part of an organization. That's how you work together. You get things done and you partner, and it's all about partnering, and being part of it is something I'm proud of. And it's only been for a few months, but I think I've been a part of it for such a long time. And I was encouraged, if anything, by Tricia Lehane and Karen Smith and Spencer, because precisely because of a group that we're also part of. And it's a very special group, and also encouraged me for a lot of the designations that I have now. And it wouldn't be possible without them. And even one friend, that Spencer, I would not be part of Clubhouse if it wasn't for his invite as well. So, but being part of that group was really something that probably I met a lot of you guys and introduced, and they've encouraged me to FIABCI, encouraged me to do all these things. And, I've been doing internationally for such a long time. So it's nothing new in that sense, but just being, meeting new opportunities, new colleagues, new friends. That's the most important thing. And you grow. And I think over the last year, when we were under lockdown and when I met everyone, especially in that group, I think it just kind of opened up a lot of doors. And FIABCI, I got to tell you, just being part of the being a member, watching like certain series of webinars, like for example, about blockchain, about, that they give free webinars to members, right? Members only. So it's being part of a members only club, which is really nice. I like that. And you get a lot of information that even normally, if you go to pay for this or learn about it, then get education, it just warrants itself by the inscription of the year. I think it's a great deal in that sense, and all the opportunities for networking that go on and so forth. But it did start like a year ago. So before FIABCI, there's other steps that they started. And, I think, I've always thanked them. That's why I'm always a part of their, and also working in FIABCI or any other organization, because they've welcomed me with open arms. So, I mean, they gave me so much that you got to give back. And that's what it's all about, so thank you. And again, thank you also, Erica and Tara, for letting me, be here and, being a part of your webinar as well. So thank you.
Thank you as well, Antonio. We appreciate it. Alicia?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that if you have never attended a global conference, I know for the past year, most of us have not had the pleasure of moving. It's been very difficult for me not traveling, but I'm excited to say that you are starting to see these global trade missions come back on very slowly, and of course with caution. So when you feel comfortable, I'll let you know that the fall schedule, and I know Della mentioned Cannes and France, the MIPIM conference, but Dubai, Serbia, Portugal, all of these conferences are taking place in the fall again. So please, as you see our amazing Slavica, Miroslav, Nenad, they are actually the leadership team for Belgrade, Serbia, and Antonio is leading the way for Portugal. If you see these internationals around here, please network them. Say, hey, we'd love to get involved. Even if you don't go this year, maybe you want to go a year in the future. And I'll tell you, I've had the pleasure of meeting, like Erica and I, we met in Rio de Janeiro, right? Years ago at a global real estate conference. So you never know the people that you're going to meet. Those friends and partners that last a lifetime, those are your referral partners. You know, we will network and refer business to each other. And that is just equally as important as growing that client base. So I want to thank you all. It's been a pure joy and obviously wonderful to see all of your faces. Thank you for our international partners. So great to see your faces. And Tara and Erica, my God, you guys are amazing. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Alicia. You're awesome.
Alicia, can I just,
Erica, you have the mic now. It's all yours.
okay. So I just want to invite my friends from Serbia, whoever wants to take to the mic and say something, please. I want to give you this platform. You mean so much, and I think our members will appreciate hearing from you. So if you don't mind, if you want to come on camera, you want to do your greetings to us and show some love and share a little bit about what your experience have been. But if not, that's fine. But I would love for you to come on, because in our future plans for FIABCI DC Mid-Atlantic Council, we will be taking you to Belgrade, Serbia.
Woo, I love that. Love that.
We have some, our programming will take you to Belgrade, Serbia in the next couple of months. We need to save the date. We have some amazing, amazing new ideas, and keep this word, trade mission. Yeah, get your passport ready. So Alicia and I, we always get together and things just tend to flow and happen. So we're going to work out the details and come back and offer it up to our FIABCI Council, as well as all the other FIABCI members. And also,
We do have a hand raised, Erica.
I think it was Nenad.
I can't see.
Nenad, was
yeah.
that you say something?
It's me.
Yes.
Oh, Slavisha, yes. Hi, Slavisha, you have the mic.
I couldn't stay in silence because you mentioned Serbia so many times, and thank you very much, girls. So you did a great job with us, and you helped us a lot before. So thank you for inviting us today to participate in this beautiful event and to with beautiful people around. This is one of the best things we have in our real estate family. We will try our best to make showtime again in Serbia in Learn to Succeed conference, and we will let you know as soon as we make decision about everything. Thank you for mentioning it, Erica and Alicia and everybody else. We would like to see you in Serbia. Ask anybody that have been so far. Everybody is excited about that. I hope you will be so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Slavisha. And let me tell you, to watch their Learn to Succeed real estate conference excel in its membership, its growth, the way that they practice real estate, it has truly been a blessing to, you know, Alicia and I was looking, you know, at how they do real estate in Belgrade, Serbia. And it was just amazing to see where they were and how far they've come and how they continue to grow their real estate industry in Belgrade, Serbia. So thank you, Sylvia. I look forward to coming back in 2022 to Serbia. Excellent food. Oh my gosh, the culture, the excursions, everything about their conference, Alicia. Oh. It's just amazing. I mean, truly. And if you're into alcohol, they have the best alcohol. I don't know. I don't really drink, but you know, when I'm in Serbia, I'll do what they ask me. And
good excuse, Erica.
Yeah, so I'm in Serbia, so I'll try. So you will definitely have a great time. Before we leave, yes.
There are a few comments in the chat I wanted to address. One is John Lynn also can assist with WeChat. He's our part of our board of directors here, but he placed his information in the chat as well. He can assist with WeChat. Secondly, Trisha asked that we address FIABCI if it's something that residential realtors should attend.
That's a good question for someone who has been to MIPIM. If there's anyone that's been to MIPIM, I was scheduled to go, but COVID, you know, I had to, you know, got canceled. If anyone has any, I think Kajolo could probably speak to it.
I don't think he's been. He's
No,
planning.
no, I haven't been there yet.
Oh, I see Della raising her hand.
No.
Della has her hand. Della.
So I've been a couple of times. I will tell you, I do like 75-25 residential commercial. It's more about the networking than it is anything else.
Okay.
So if you've ever been to a World's Fair where every country has their booth, right? They call them stands at MIPIM, but every company, country, organization is there. So if they're part of real estate, think FIABCI on steroids, because it's architects, it's developers, it's real estate, it's everything. And the cultural immersion is amazing. In the stand from Japan, we did sake tastings. They explained sake. They did the paintings with the brushes and created the giant scrolls. They do everything that teaches you about the culture of their country. So don't worry about being a residential agent. I mean, we met people from Italy. He explained how they do foreclosures in Italy. It's amazing. No, nothing like the United States. So it's just a total learning immersion experience. Plus you get to be with all of your great FIABCI friends. So what did you want?
Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Della. Thank you. We are the FIABCI DC Mid-Atlantic Council and ARIA, Asian Real Estate Association of America. We are going to collaborate on a language series. We are working out the date and creating our marketing material. So stay tuned for that. That was something that the panelists had a discussion about. Antonio talked about using English as his way to communicate to his clients. So when you don't have the native language as your initial language, then we're going to offer some preliminary, or not preliminary, but some basic conversational language for you to be able to engage with your clients that does not speak English. So stay tuned for that. You will get the invite, and that's what we have coming up in the next couple of months. So
thank you
so much for being a part of this event today. It was extraordinary because of our wonderful panelists and our guests. I want to thank our board of directors for continuing to support the DC Mid-Atlantic Council and bringing amazing programming to not only our members, but to the FIABCI membership as well. So thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed the conversation today through our panelists. I hope that you will connect in these virtual worlds that we're in, and start those videos and start exercising those global connections. Pick up the phone, shoot a video, and get someone to know, like, and trust you in the global world.
Thank you, Erica, and everyone. Thank you. Oh, John, if you could be one to stay on too for 5 minutes. Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all for coming, for attending. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.